Back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell in your afternoon drive. Joining us now on the Bobby B's hotline, one of the best baseball people we know, Kevin Kernan. Still writing, still following Major League Baseball, writing for Ball9.com. His latest one is on the guys that were just nominated to possibly go in the Baseball Hall of Fame. It's a great read. The part about Will Clark, if you've seen Will Clark lately, doing a lot of podcasts, and he just gives you real honest answers, and so that's why we have Kevin Kernan on all the time. Wanted to start with Juan Soto. He's being wined and dined by all these teams, but at the same time, he's also asking some of these owners and these baseball people to try to surround him with the right people. What do you think about that with Scott Boras and the way he's trying to make sure that wherever his client goes, this guy will be in the same kind of situation like Shohei Ohtani going to the Dodgers last year?
Well, first of all, Will the Thrill actually follows me on X, so that's a good thing too. When you got an honest guy like that following you.
Oh yeah.
So, yep, and great move by Scott. I've known Scott since 1988. I think he got a little ruffled last year by how it all went down with some of his clients. He's got to put Soto in a place where he's going to be vying for a championship almost every year. It's that simple, and that's why I thought it was really fascinating. To me, Dibs, I've always read between the lines. That's why I figure things out. And when Soto was asking the Yankees about their player development, to me that was pretty interesting because does it match up to some of the other player development that he's talking about? Because the money's going to be there no matter what. You could get an outlier like the Blue Jays coming in because I look at the Blue Jays as the Texas Rangers of 2000 who signed Alex Rodriguez out of nowhere, basically. It could be that kind of situation. The Red Sox are intriguing to me simply because they have 3 or 4 really top prospects. They've revamped some of their pitching people. They could also wind up, just an example, the dream for the Red Sox would be, you get the Japanese pitcher, Roki Sasaki, and then you get this guy too. Imagine that, getting Soto. You turn it around overnight if you can do something like that. I still think the Mets are the favorite simply because the art collector, Steve Cohen, and I talked to someone who knows him very close today, he does not want to get beat by anybody. He wants to collect his art. Soto, to me, is a natural fit there. But the question he might be asking them do you have enough talent to keep us in there? But they can certainly go out and buy more talent because they say he'll spend more than $50 million than anybody else. So I've said the Mets from the beginning. I'm still sticking with them.
What about the drop-off after Soto when it comes to the other free agents in Major League Baseball? I'm guessing Bregman, Alonso are on top of the list for everyday players. The pitchers that you already mentioned, the kid from Japan, you got Corbin Burns, you got some Max Fried. What's the drop-off to the next level? Because I was wondering this with Shohei's deal that, like, everybody's hustling for that one guy. But what's the consolation prize like this time around if you don't get that one guy?
I think Corbin Burns is the winner there. I think you got to go pitching. You can't fool around. It still comes down to pitching. Nobody pitches deep anymore in the games. One of the things I wrote about in that column today was that Ichiro, who I'm very close with when his time in New York, by the way, he speaks great English, and he also goes to the Hall of Fame all the time on his own. He's been up there like 5-6 times. But Ichiro and CeCe, who are, to me, locks going in, obviously, they're doing things that they don't want anymore. A guy who hits for average, doesn't walk a lot, and gets on base, and CeCe goes deep into games. Nobody goes deep into the games. Even the two. Let me throw one number at you. The 2 Cy Young winners, this year, Sale and Skubal, I think they were 6.1 and 6.2 innings is basically their average. So I think you gotta pivot. If you can't get Soto, you have to immediately pivot to pitching. That's my thing. And there's enough hitters out there. Christian Walker would be a good little pickup for first base. Bregman, I think he's overshooting way too high for what he's going to get. But you never know with these guys. But I think he's on. He kind of reminds me of Correa in a way. I thought Correa was a little bit on the downside when he became a free agent, and I think the same thing with Bregman. The one thing I will say about Bregman, though, is that he's got an intensity level to win that will help your team in multiple areas. So if you have that team that's a little lackadaisical, you bring Bregman in, all of a sudden, hey, these guys are going to be on. They're going to be all tuned in. So it's going to be. It has to be Soto first, of course. You know how it works, and then all the pieces will fit. Soto will happen. I'm guessing at the winter meetings because Scott wants that. Scott has always been the performer. And a little known information about Scott, and I found this out one day talking to him in L.A. One of his best friends in college was Pete Carroll. Yeah, I think they might have even been roommates. So I asked Scott about that Super Bowl one time and got a great answer, and I can't really say it on the air because it was kind of background. But all I will say is that Russell Wilson had something to do with it.
Talking to Kevin Kernan from Ball9.com. Let's talk about the Cy Young Awards. The first time it's been two lefties since, I think, 2002 was Randy Johnson and Barry Zito, which was fascinating to me. 22 years in between. Still not that many dominant lefties over that period where they could match up year to year. But tell me what your thoughts on Sale and then Skubal. I mean, he's not young. He's 28 years old. Right. So this guy's, it's not like he was like Rookie of the Year and Cy Young, but Sale, I think for all of our Red Sox fans that we work with, my wife, everybody, they are sickened at the thought that guy went to Atlanta and pitched lights out all year.
Isn't it amazing how the guys go to Atlanta and find, no matter who they are, they come back, and going back to, the catcher and some other people. But yeah, but that's another reason why the Red Sox have to really do something to change the narrative. But Skubal, he's made some adjustments physically, using his body more, Dibs, and that's how he got over his arm issues. So I see him as a monster, to be quite frank. I think he's a monster. And what I will say about Sale, who I'll always loved, and you talk about a competitor, again, that X-Factor competitor. I mean, another season like this or something, his numbers, the wins aren't totally up there yet, but you got to start thinking about him Hall of Fame down the road, too. So yeah, big mistake by the Red Sox because they couldn't keep him healthy. And I think that's why you got Breslow there now. Andrew Bailey. They also just brought in the guy from the Orioles. I don't know if you noticed that. He was their pitching coach a few years ago and got pushed out of the way. And now, so they've revamped their whole pitching lab, so to speak. But yeah, I am. But if there's one guy that I'm fascinated with, I was a little disappointed though. Skubal should have fought a little harder in the playoffs to say, that's the next step for all these pitchers. Will you start manning up a little bit and not let these guys take you out and be happy with you? I know it happens all year long and you get your 6th and the 3rd innings and you're happy, but when you get to the playoffs, that's your game. Let's go. And I think that's the next stage. That's the evolution of pitching now. The teams that get in their pitchers' heads to say, no, you're not coming. You don't want to come out. That's going to be different. Because I'm telling you right now, and you've been there better than anybody, but these guys, if they make it that far with a few little adjustments, they can control these games and also keep psychologically the opponent down. We've lost so much of the psychological game in baseball because of the nerd factor. And that was one of my things, too, with the column I wrote today, is I would recommend every owner take his chief nerd and make him go to Cooperstown for the weekend and hang out with those guys. Do what I do. Talk to Cal Ripken Jr., and next thing you know, he's doing his batting stance on the veranda at the Osaga Hotel. They need to get we need to get a little bit away from the science of baseball and back into the psychological advantage of baseball. And I think you're seeing that with some managers. Love what Buster Posey's doing in San Francisco. Bob Melvin's going to actually be able to make his lineup. Sounds crazy, but it's going to happen. So I think that's the next evolution for baseball, is the psychological aspect of the game. I want to see these starting pitchers get a little bit more ornery, more like CC Sabathia, and guys like that. They could really use it.
How about Trainin or Walker that got their coach to listen to them? I don't know, when was that? World Series in the Dodgers?
Yes, yeah. Dave Roberts, he showed me a lot there. He wasn't the same old Dave Roberts and letting the nerds tell him what to do. He looked them in the eye, gave him the old hey. And he's playing, let's be honest, though. He's playing with house money there, Game 5. Yeah. So it's not like it's Game 7. If he makes that mistake and it blows up, it looks bad. Game 5, you play with house money there. You say, hey, you can get us out of this, and that's what happens. But that's a great point, Ben. That's exactly what I'm talking about. We need more of that and less of the I don't want to say where it gets me in trouble where baseball's heading.
On Monday, the pitcher of this show was upset that the two winners of Rookie of the Year were pitchers, and especially not as much Skeens as Luis Gil, but
Gil, man.
Your thought of Rookie of the Year being these two pitchers.
I guess Bibbs and I are on the same wavelength. I was upset, too. First of all, Skeens, 133, I think, was the innings pitched. I will look back at CC's first year. It was 180, He's tremendously talented. I was a Jackson Merrill fan. No Padres won the Rookie of the Year since '87. Benny Santiago. People forget about there. I used to work out there, so I don't forget about it. The two San Diego writers, of course, voted for Merrill. And Cowser, I'm with him. I thought that was. It was so close that it was going to make somebody upset. It's basically that situation.
Yeah, but those guys play every day, Kevin. Kevin, they play every day,
What?
7 days a week.
Exactly.
You start once every fifth day. You're throwing 6 innings. I mean, if you had like 12 complete games in 29 starts, I could see giving it to Gil.
Right.
But no, these guys go 6 innings, and he had 2 months that were god awful. One he had almost a 7 ERA. Another one he had over a 4 ERA.
End, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's just at the end in September when you need the guy. So it's like, what are you watching? Are these people watching the same thing, or is it just like you want to make it some kind of social media event?
No, here's your answer. I'm with you 100% on this because I'm an everyday player guy. That's why I brought up Santiago and everything. They look at numbers. They don't watch anymore. Dibs, I've been in, the press boxes started changing in about 2018, 19. Guys were doing the Twitter, and they weren't watching games. And you see a lot of that now. Now they just look at numbers. Gil, he also, he got banged up, but he got hit around pretty good. He bounced back at the end, but he wasn't durable. And they babied Skeens has the talent if they let Skeens go, but they didn't let him go. Okay, so none of these guys they were like they had roller skates on basically. They weren't really training wheels. They weren't let go. Meanwhile, Jackson Merrill, how about that? I think that's the kid that really got screwed in my book.
Did. Yeah.
He comes in from shortstop to play center field after Soto he basically replaced Soto.
Right.
Dude,
Right.
He hit 292, 24 home runs, 90 RBI for the Padres, and with that lineup too. I mean, that's. I think he got lost in that All-Star lineup.
He did get lost, but when they went towards the end of the year, when they started going after him, and like you said, they didn't want the other guys to beat him. He came up huge. You know how many big home runs he had late in the game? I forget the number exactly, but it was some crazy number, like 7 homers after the 7th or 8th inning. Potter put him ahead. So I think my brethren in the BBWAA, I think sometimes they get lost in the dazzling numbers. Maybe here's what we need to say. Maybe Jackson Merrill, and I don't even know if he's married, but maybe he needs a better girlfriend. Maybe then
100%, you nailed it.
That's what Dibs
You nailed that.
National League.
You got to start dating some great gymnast, like Livy Dunn with 10 million Instagram
It's
followers.
going to be painful, but you got to do it. Yep.
Did you see Skeens when they told him? She was 10 times more happy than Skeens was.
She did it.
She did it. She won. Livy won.
Well, it was a great Instagram. It's all about the gram, It was a great scene for her. And she's a Jersey girl, so I'm not picking on her.
We're not picking on her, but it's just these other punks, man. They're just
But that's my advice for these guys now. Get the girlfriend, the super hot girlfriend that has all the followers, and your model's gonna go up tremendously. It's the way to go. And we haven't talked about we haven't talked about MVPs, but that's a no-brainer. Obviously, the MVPs they're going where they should go. Everyday players for the most part. Even though the DH with Ohtani, I look at Ohtani as a different kind of player because he's such a great base runner.
Yeah,
but I will say this. Dibs, he's got to change the way he slides. I know he's protecting his right arm, but come on. He's going to blow that shoulder out again.
Just the arm hanging back is what you're talking about.
He blew his labrum out. They had to have surgery.
Like still sliding on his butt, but just get your arm out of it.
Get your hands up.
Right?
You're supposed to hold your batting gloves and keep your hands up. Bad coaching, once again. Bad coaching. Player
development. That's why, again, to me, the most fascinating thing was Soto asking about player development because you know what else I want to say about Soto, too? And this is what sticks in my head during the playoffs, the World Series. when Volpe, who good young player, when Volpe struck out in that key situation on really a bad swing, do you remember the cameras immediately did a great job? They cut right to Soto, who like threw his head back in total disgust, kind of like I was as a teammate. Like, oh my God, you suck, you know.
Yep.
So that told me a lot there. So I think that's why, and I think Hal's already setting it up for the Yankees fans to realize they won't get Soto. I'd be shocked if he goes back to the Yankees, but anything's possible.
Anything's possible, but thank you so much on short notice, my friend. Hopefully Florida's a lot better weather than we got. We got in the 40s. We got like snowy rain here, but at least we got Gino Auriemma, so that's right. Connecticut's got something good.
That's right.
Connecticut's got a lot of good things going. Connecticut's it also has it's home to my favorite story I ever did. Major Reich, who pitched for the Orioles. He was in their minor leagues. He was on the USA team that won the gold medal. Major Reich was also the helicopter pilot who tried to go in and save those the lone survivor guys, and he was killed. And his family is from I think Washington, Connecticut. I went up and visited them, and a lot of good people, a lot of wonderful people up in there. And so it's not just the big people we hear about. Look up Major Reich sometime.
We will.
And,
doing it right in that.
You'll be amazed.
Yep.
Thank you.
You are the best, Kernan.
Yes, thank you, sir.
Thank you, buddy.
All right. Take care, fellas.
All right. First tips question of the day. We've got NFL football. Then we're going to have some Geno sound for you. And then Brandon Lang, he's going to manage your money for you coming up at 425. So great show lined up for you. Then it's Coach Jim Mora Jr. He's got a game to play this weekend, so he's got a coach's show to do first. We'll be right back on the Rob Dibble Show with Ben Darnell on your afternoon drive.